Judging by the close to $100 billion in trade between the two countries, enhanced youth engagement and education ties, partnership on national resources and energy, and partnership on cultural exchanges, one would think Canada and China were bosom buddies. Looking closer, that's not the case. The truth is, over the past 5 years, the relationship between the nations has declined considerably and taken a sour turn. We're going to take a look at why. Beginning in 2017, a series of events unfolded which caused a major strain in the relationship between the two countries. 2017. In August 2017, while reporting in the remote Xinjiang region in northwestern China, a journalist from The Globe and Mail, one of Canada's leading national newspapers, was detained for 3 hours and had his camera searched and computer seized by Chinese police. This led to outrage from the editor-in-chief. Then Canadian Minister of Foreign Relations, Chrystia Freeland, is said to have spoken to the journalist directly. 2018. On December 1, 2018, Huawei's CFO, Meng Wanzhou, was arrested in Vancouver. Meng was wanted in the United States for allegedly violating the US's sanctions on Iran and was held in Canada under house arrest while her case went through the extradition process. The process, however, would not be a fast one. Huawei Technologies Company Ltd. Is a major Chinese tech company and is a world leader in 5G technology. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said his government was aware of the arrest in advance, but that they weren't involved in it. This was just the beginning. On December 10, 2018, Canadian Michael Kovrig, a former diplomat, was arrested in the Beijing Bureau of the Chinese State Security. Kovrig had last worked for the Canadian government in 2016. During his stint, he worked in both Beijing and Hong Kong. China wasn't exactly forthcoming about the reasons for his arrest. At the time, Kovrig was working for the International Crisis Group, a think tank dedicated to conflict resolution headquartered in Brussels. China claimed that the organization was not registered in China. A spokesperson for the Chinese Foreign Ministry claimed, once the organization's staff becomes engaged in activities in China, it has already violated the law. At the same time, the same spokesperson demanded the immediate release of Meng Wanzhou and to protect her legitimate rights and interests. A second Canadian was arrested shortly after, this time Michael Spavor, the founder of the Paektu Cultural Exchange, who promotes travel to North Korea. The charge, once again, was endangering national security. Almost immediately, China was accused of using the prisoners as hostages to force Canada to comply with their desires. The arrests were commonly referred to by the media as the arrest of the two Michaels. Just a day before, on December 9th, Canadian Ambassador John McCallum was threatened with serious consequences if Meng was not freed. Trudeau said the government was treating the incident very seriously. He vowed to work with Chinese authorities to make it clear the two detentions were not acceptable. In a December issue, Global Times, the newspaper run directly by the Communist Party, warned if Canada extradites Meng to the US, China's revenge will be far worse than detaining a Canadian. On the 21st of December 2018, Canada's Foreign Minister Chrystia Freeland told the news media that she had advised the Chinese ambassador that Canada was requesting the release of Michael Kovrig and Michael Spavor. The two men were not officially charged until the next May. 2019. Early in 2019, China banned imports of Canadian canola crops from two major companies. The reasons given were pests in the incoming Canadian crops. The Canadian government protested and took the matter up with the World Trade Organization. During that year, it came to light that the Chinese government protected certain of their industries from direct foreign investments until July of 2019, when China's oil and gas sector began taking in foreign investment again. Even then, a huge number of Chinese industries remained closed to non-Chinese investors. Those industries include education, healthcare, telecommunication, and automotive. This was a major factor leading to the considerable trade imbalance between Canada and China. In the same year, China also banned Canadian meat imports after reports of finding residue of the drug ractopamine, which is banned in China but legal in the US and Canada. China then accused Canada of forging customs export documents. Chinese customs officials claimed to have found 188 forged veterinary certificates on exported meat products linked to Frigo Royal, a Quebec-based meat producer. Marie-Claude Bibeau, Canadian Agriculture and Agri-Food Minister, said that the Canadian meat producer may be the victim of fraud. "I don't know why their name has been used, but it doesn't mean they are into it at all," Bibu said. "Everything that is written on the certificate, we just cannot say that it is true." At the time, Canada was exporting over $350 million worth of meat to China every year. Canadian farmers reported very little use of rictopamine in modern farming practices and never to countries where it is banned. As China continued their demand for the release of Miss Meng Wanzhou while simultaneously banning imports of Canadian products, many observers began connecting the two issues. The Chinese Foreign Minister Liu Kang denied this, claiming, "It is the Chinese government's responsibility to protect the safety and interests of the Chinese consumers and the agricultural production and ecological security of the nation." Meanwhile, another storm was brewing. Canada was looking to upgrade its 5G infrastructure. One of the potential companies being considered was, again, Huawei. But there were serious security and privacy concerns being raised in Canada at the time, given that the US and Australian governments had both denied Huawei access into their countries. 2020. In June 2020, 19 former Canadian politicians and diplomats, including former Prime Minister Jean Chrétien, sent a letter to the Chinese government calling for the two journalists to be released. In the summer of that year, Pew Research Center reported 73% of Canadians had a negative view of China. 2021. The extradition case against Meng Wanzhou was dropped in September 2021 and she was released by Canadian authorities. Almost immediately, Michael Kovrig and Michael Spavor were freed and put on a plane to Canada. Not surprisingly, most observers considered these two events to be intrinsically linked. What do you think? On December 8, 2021, the Canadian government announced that no federal government officials would attend the Olympics in China, but Canadian athletes would still be allowed to compete. 2022. In May 2022, the Canadian government banned Huawei and ZTE from the country's 5G network. But by then, many Canadian telecom companies had already rejected Huawei. Another Canadian newspaper, The National Post, argued Chinese laws force Chinese companies to support, assist, and cooperate with the state intelligence work. It would be folly to give the authoritarian regime even the potential of building a backdoor into networks that drive our cars, host high-level cabinet meetings, and transmit government and corporate secrets. Here and now. Former Canadian ambassador to China, Guy Saint-Jacques, once claimed leveraging international support, especially from the US, would be needed to address many of these issues. But with the US owing China close to $1 trillion, it remains to be seen how tough they can get with their bankers. It may be that Canada is just a third party caught in the middle of a Chinese-US political and trade war. If that's true, Canada is a gazelle caught between two elephants and can only hope not to get crushed.